It's Wednesday on the Podcast Daily. It is time to get rich once again with fake investments on Ohio State Buckeyes. What could be better than that? It's Bill Landis. Jeremy Birmingham is back. I am Austin Ward. Birm, you haven't been on the stock watch in weeks. How's your portfolio?
Steady.
Steady?
Cool. Everything's cool.
Is that how you want it to be? Steady and cool?
Cool. Yeah. I don't like volatility really in my investments.
Don't you want hot stocks?
He likes to get exactly out what he put in.
Yeah, I don't want volatility. More. I want 100% return. Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay. Well, that would seem like...
So I'm going to start this episode of the Stock Watch show by talking about one player that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's Emeka Egbuka.
Oh.
Because the
famously available for stocks.
The facts are the facts. And the statistics are the statistics, and the averages are the averages. And he's had like 2 touches the last 3 weeks. And that's not going to happen this Saturday. And I'm expecting a big day from Emeka Egbuka. And I'm just getting ahead of you on BPs on Friday and taking it now because I'm going to tell you, I think it was the Oregon game. He had like 12 touches or something, right?
I can tell you, he had 12 against Oregon, and he's had 12 in the 4 games since then.
Somebody asked about it on Tuesday in the Woody.
Who did? Oh, did you? I wasn't paying attention.
It's fine. I mumble sometimes.
He's going to be a big part of this offense on Saturday and moving forward because you're going to... It's so funny how this offense makes people adjust because now it's like, well, we got to guard Cardell Tate. Well, we got to guard Jeremiah Smith. Yeah. And early in the season, it was, well, we got to guard Emeka Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith. Now it's, well, nope. It's back to Emeka's turn. I've been fascinated by...
It is going to be Emeka's turn.
I've been fascinated by what they've been doing with Brandon Ennis in the game when he's been in there. And you can just see, like, that's where Emeka's supposed to go. I'm expecting, like, 100-plus yard day from him for sure.
Is this?
And so that...
He's confused. He hasn't been on a stock watch in a while.
I'm just saying that's why you buy the stocks.
I like the idea of buying a stock and an idea for the game, but you don't even need to drill down with specific...
I'm just saying I'm expecting a big day for him. Yeah. A lot of touches, a lot of different ways of getting him the ball. And I think that it's time to reinvest in the Emeka Egbuka stock.
He's buying a stock specifically for Saturday, which is just...
Isn't that not the way you do it?
That's what bold predictions
It's a short-term buy.
But I think...
You said you wanted long-term investments that will give you 100% return.
I said I wanted steady investments. I wanted steady returns. I'm getting it.
I think you can project that forward, though, because I think
I don't think it's exclusive to Saturday.
I think it's a big game thing for Emeka. And every game they play from here on out is going to be a big game.
So yeah, that's exactly what I just said.
Yeah. Okay.
This guy's just mad because I took Emeka Egbuka.
It's not cool. I own all the stock, so I guess I'll take the profit.
He's played so well, and he doesn't complain. He doesn't go out there and get demonstrative. He
has been a little demonstrative.
I've seen him throw up his hand a couple times and like, okay, I'm open. But like, this is the week where you get in the ball because you're going to have to.
Is that Jeremiah and Carnell are also open.
Everyone's always open. That's the problem.
Maybe Ohio State could use the tempo a little bit more so they could get more touches to give to all these players.
Yeah, it's like they are.
Yeah, stack down on Ohio State's tempo.
For real, they play very slow. I'm sick of seeing games where they have fewer than 60 plays, and it's mostly entirely their doing. Like, they could play faster.
Ryan Day has, because I don't like it. I'm going to say my expectation, if it was a future stock, is that Ohio State's tempo will pick up in the bigger games because it doesn't make any sense for them not to be at the mercy of, can you get enough third down stops where a team doesn't, get to milk 3 or 4 minutes off of a quarter at a time and keep your offense on the field. I think that they will push the issue in bigger games. Ryan Day didn't say, well, it's just the rule change. He has started to say some of this is by design. And he didn't say what the design was, but I think we all know that it's the length of the season. It is taking care of a very good defense and trusting them to perform and not needing to get through the year and score 50 points a game. This has been done by design, but it does come at the expense of individual numbers and maybe a claim. But you don't have to have style points to get through the season. They're doing what they have to do to win games. But I do think when you get to maybe Indiana is not the perfect example of that, and maybe Michigan won't be either. But you're going to probably need to play with more urgency and tempo against Oregon and maybe everything that comes after that.
I've been on alert for it. We'll see. There is like intentional slowness, I guess, is a tool. It's a weapon. Like Michigan was one of the slowest playing teams in the country last year, and they won a national championship operating that way, right? So it's not Georgia, like with its offenses, didn't play exceptionally fast. So there's more than one way to do it. It's just odd to see Ohio State doing it that way when like they are more run oriented than they have been, but it's not like they're running 60% of the time suddenly, right? It's still a fairly balanced offense. So there's a method to it, but it's always been in the back of my mind, like, okay, like when is it sort of?
Because when they do it in a 2-minute situation,
that's awesome.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, but also tempo can help the run game too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's not just you also have 2 running backs that are more than capable of hitting a home run anytime they touch the ball. So like you don't have to go slow to make sure they're okay. Like you could rotate them more. There's a lot of things.
They're using the helmet comms though. Like they're and it's not like
Well, that's the other
in the
part that
past-
they're paranoid about is that they've had their signals stolen.
Whoa,
They've been
they have?
spied upon before.
Interesting.
What's your first stonk?
He had something else to say, Berm.
Nah,
I don't
we're
know.
done.
It was fine. We've kind of
moving
beat
on.
that to death. It's fine. Will Howard's legs.
You want to be back on this show.
Will Howard's legs, I think. Similar idea to Emeka Egbuka. Big game Emeka. I think it's big game Will Howard needs to run the ball more. Did not run it aside from a sneak last week. Didn't run it very much against Purdue. Honestly, he has not run it. The most he's run it, I think, maybe was the Iowa game, which I guess makes sense. I was a little surprised by that. Or I was a little surprised maybe that Iowa game wasn't sort of the launching pad to him, like really kind of unleashing that part of his game. I just don't. We've seen it situationally, and I think Ohio State has like pressed that button at the right times, thinking of the Penn State game in particular, but it's not like we've seen games where he's run the ball like 10 times. And I think we're getting into that territory. Maybe you don't need it to beat Indiana. Perhaps you don't. I don't
You'll find out on Saturday.
Yeah, I guess so. But I just think it's not a necessary component of like a championship push, but if you have it, you should use it because it's hard to stop. Jim Knowles has asked a bunch of questions about Curtis Rourke, who hasn't run much this year, but has run well in his past. Maybe doing some of that against Indiana on Saturday. I do feel like Ohio State has been holding back the quarterback run game some, and I get it. Like why expose Will Howard to hits if you don't need to? But we're in championship season officially now, and I think it's time to tap into that. So it's been a season-long discussion. We talked about it a ton when Will got here, and haven't really stopped talking about it since. So I don't know how much of that stock is available, but whatever's left of it,
His leg stock?
I'll scoop
Plenty
up.
of leg stock.
Plenty of leg stock. All right, plenty of legs. I'll take all I can get because I think it's time for Will Howard, the runner, to emerge.
Yeah, we'll find out on Saturday if that's necessary against Indiana. I think, Ohio State paid deference to the pressure the Hoosiers have gotten in their games throughout the year and the creativity they've shown with their scheme. But if you can't just line up and win one-on-one matchups with your defensive lineman against Ohio State's offensive line, I think that's going to differentiator. The reason that we may have seen it more against Penn State was offensive line was in the midst or just had that massive transition with Donovan Jackson going out to left tackle, and one of the equalizing factors was Will Howard's leg. I think that Michigan and Oregon are certainly 2 situations where you're going to probably have to rely on Will Howard to even up the numbers and make more plays. And again, I say some of these things and it sounds like I'm insulting Indiana, but in terms of, again, 1 through 85, their roster is not the same as these other teams. They are well coached. They beat every team in front of them. But if Will Howard has to run to beat Indiana, that would be another thing that I'm surprised by.
To the point of tempo, I'll just add, like, I know we're going back a point, but one thing I did feel like I noticed when Indiana played Michigan was that Indiana's lack of depth on defense showed up in the second half. So if you're Ohio State, you want to use that to your, like, it's going to uptick in the number of plays they're running. So then in the second half of that game, you might actually be able to really wear down Indiana because they have really 4 defensive linemen and like a 5th that they kind of like. And then just kind of 2 linebackers too. So
they were off the field. They were on the Indiana defense was on the field a ton in the second half.
Yeah,
because they couldn't move the ball when Michigan decided to blitz the quarterback. So
yeah.
I think there's a ton of instructive things from that game that Ohio State can look at as they prepare for Indiana.
Number 1, don't have Davis Warren as your quarterback.
Don't have.
I don't
Alex
think
Orji
that'll
as your
be.
backup quarterback.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's already covered on that front.
They are.
Did you pick a stock yet?
Yeah, I talked about the tempo.
Back to you.
Oh,
What's your bold P?
He's going to do nothing but stocks on Friday. It's going to be great.
This is not going to be a surprise after Snap Judgments on Tuesday, but it's not about this year. It is still about believing a little bit in the talk of CJ Hicks at the edge. I'm into it. I'm fully on board. I'm ready to be heard again. If these coaches are lying about it, I guess I'll just cry about it later. But I really do think that
It's a bar.
there is some remorse in this building over the last few years about the lack of usage of Baron Browning and how he should have been used. And that didn't happen until he was walking out the door. There is still at least another year for CJ Hicks here if he wants it, or it could be 2. Like, there's a chance to really grow him into something. The more you watch a guy like Abdul Carter at Penn State, the more you think about what Micah Parsons did at Penn State. Like, that is CJ Hicks. And so you don't have to have a guy who is your complete linebacker on the field every play. Like, you just don't have to. And yes, if he's on the field, people might know he's blitzing. Who cares? He blitz.
Yeah, stop it.
Stop it. So I'm a believer that CJ Hicks is going to find a role that he may have forced a role, to be honest, but it's best for him and for everyone else. And so count me in on CJ Hicks there. And the decommitment of Zahir Mathis on Monday, one of Ohio State's top edge commitments in the class of 2025, I think it's making me think about the future and how a lot of these edge rushers that they needed, and I talked about Joshua Mickens last week, they're already on the team. You just have to actually use them in that way. And so I think that there's an opportunity for those guys to really have a big future at that spot, because I truly believe the defense is going to look like a Jim Knowles defense next year, not a traditional Ohio State 4-3 defense.
Okay.
That's a real long-term play.
Yeah,
Like that.
I love that one. I feel like I would go into the bucket of people that were skeptical about the way Sonny Styles is playing in September, and I tried to keep my mind open about knowing, and I asked him about it a number of times, like how difficult the transition is, because he's doing that physically, mentally he's learning a new position, and then on top of that, Ohio State was asking him to play multiple different spots. Cody Simon starting the year injured. I think there was too much on his plate, and I was like, okay, yeah, it doesn't look perfect. He's missed a few tackles. It looks like some of the assignments are being blown, and I had it in the back of my mind that there were some plays that he could have made a year ago at safety, notably against Michigan. It's like, boy, I don't know. I really believe in all the physical ability and the work ethic and all that stuff, but it just doesn't seem to be translating. And then you can fast forward and you let the process play out, and it's quite clearly working. The time that he's put into that position, and I'd still say it's not perfect. He's 1 week removed from missing 3 tackles against Purdue, so I don't want to act like this is now the most blue chip stock of all time, even though he's a 5-star and already had a year of starting experience for Ohio State. It's not going out on a limb to say, hey, Sonny Styles is good at football, but the way he has now acclimated to that position, the way that Ohio State is trusting him with the responsibility, it's not just the 2 sacks and the 2 passes broken up on Saturday, but that's a big part of it. I think, Ryan Day phrased it in a way that that's what Sonny has to provide every single week. That's the expectation. And I don't think that it's impossible for him to deliver that in all these biggest games. When you're relying on your best athletes to win you games, I think Sonny Styles is proving that he can do that. So it's more of not necessarily a buying low stock. It's definitely not that, because it was always going to be pretty expensive. But I think I was on the fence a little bit in September, and now I don't think there's any reason to be.
I think a lot of people were, right? We were talking about, should Gabe Powers play more?
Gabe Powers,
right? So
he should still play more.
He should, maybe he could, but I think it was a combination of like CJ Hicks not playing very well at linebacker, and then Sonny still very much needing to get his feet under him at linebacker too, which I think has happened. The tackles 2 weeks ago, I guess, notwithstanding, but last week he was awesome.
Yeah.
They activated him a little bit too as a guy who's going to get into the backfield. So I think that
I love when they put the push the activate
button. He was also making the calls, I noticed last week. Maybe they're still rotating that, but
I think that's probably because they knew Cody wasn't going to play a whole lot, and they were just keeping Sonny as the primary.
I didn't know if they were trying to protect Cody's voice like a singer.
Possible.
Little vocal rest.
That's right. Take turns.
That's right. I'm going to go stock down.
Ooh, we don't do these often, folks. What's he going to say?
Throwing the ball in short yardage.
Oh.
Because Ohio State had 8 instances of short yardage last week, 3rd down, 4th down, less than 3 yards to go. 5 throws, 1 conversion. 3 runs, 3 conversions.
Oh.
No, it turns out running the ball in short yardage is not a bad idea. They have the plans to convert short yardage, I think. They're actually, power success rate is the stat you would track to see how often you convert that running the ball. Ohio State's actually pretty good. There have been times in the past under Ryan Day they've been awful. They're like top 20-ish, I think, in the country this year at it right now, whether it's quarterback sneak or the T formation stuff we've seen mostly down in the red zone, but even I think Oregon, they kind of ran it in the middle of the field, right? Quinshon Judkins, I think, has the mindset to run in those situations too, to get you the 1 or 2 yards you might need. Just stop throwing the ball in short yardage. I think you have to sprinkle it in every now and then to keep a defense honest, to break tendency, whatever that might be. I don't think the balance should be 5 passes and 3 runs, especially when you're 1 for 5 on the passes and 3 for 3 on the runs. So maybe that's a game where you just kind of work some stuff out and you're doing it just to do it. But I hope moving forward that Ohio State can get back to running the ball in those situations, because I actually think they're pretty good at it.
What if the one pass was to Jeremiah Smith and it's 100% in that situation? Maybe they should only throw it to him on 4th down if they're going to throw it.
Well, I got to tell you, though, Bram, I think Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate are also pretty good. So,
sure. But
I'm not saying don't ever do it,
numbers don't lie.
but maybe don't do it.
I just think
As much as you do it.
you're putting yourself in a weird spot because they're doing most of the time when they're throwing the ball, it's out of like run formations. And so it's obviously designed to cause some trickeration, but then you don't have your dudes on the field and you're not giving Will Howard really options down the field to make the play because you're only having 1 or 2 receivers out in the route.
the sneak stuff, I think, is what, I mean, it's definitely
he's really good at
elevated the numbers, and he's the perfect quarterback to run it. Also, somebody told me on Saturday that Ohio State has a goal of running a quarterback sneak for 10 yards this year.
Oh. We've seen like a six yarder, 5 yarder.
He got like 7 against Nebraska. And
They didn't mark it
They
for
only
7.
gave him for 4.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's right.
But the next time that they ran it,
Could you imagine 1st and 10 QB sneak first down?
well, wasn't it that started the Penn State drive, right? Like they, were coming out of the end zone and they got 5 yards on that one. So I'm just telling you, it's a goal that this team has.
It's good to set goals, even if they're insane.
Yeah.
I think they can do it. They're halfway there.
They averaged like 4 yards per sneak with Justin Fields in 2019 when they would do that dummy look to the sideline and then snap the ball.
I love that play.
Yeah, it was great.
It's my turn?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's how this shit works.
I just got here. So.
I'm due.
I'm gonna take another future stock because I believe
All these are.
I believe.
What do you want to pass stock?
I mean, like for next year and beyond.
If I could go back in time,
Yeah,
I would buy some Justin Fields stock.
I would. Those were really good years. Were you not there? It was very exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting. You're right. Let's all take some past stocks then. I want Marvin Harrison.
Ooh.
It's still Arvell Reese for me. Like I just think that there's been some back and forth about maybe if he's a guy that should move to the edge just because of his size, and he's so natural and instinctive at linebacker that I actually hate the conversation about moving him to edge. I think it's stupid, and I don't think it should happen. But I know that there is at least some debate because of his length and the way that he attacks things, that maybe he's a guy you put there. Please don't. Please just let him be like the Patrick Queen / Ray Lewis / middle linebacker who
Fred Warner.
someone who just murders people and like
Ray Lewis did that literally,
okay,
so that's
maybe strike it. He didn't.
sorry, acquitted.
He
of
knew
murder.
someone who murdered.
He
someone.
was in proximity to murder.
So Arvell is. I just like linebackers that when they hit you, you fall down. Like, and that's what Arvell does. But he also has the best sideline to sideline ability I've seen in an Ohio State linebacker probably since Jerome Baker, maybe even going back to Darren Lee a couple years before that. Like, the dude flies around the field, and he just needs to keep building on that. And if you let him play a full season at linebacker, I think you're going to see like a really special year out of him down the road. And his role against Indiana might be a little bit limited, but next week against Michigan, he's going to be right in the center of that. And we're going to find out, I guess, then if I'm right or wrong about how good he can be. But just keep believing in Arvell Reese, because there's a world where where Sonny Styles doesn't come back to Ohio State next year. Like, that's a realistic conversation, despite what people may scoff at that. But I know that that's at least a possibility.
Yeah.
Arvell's going to be super important to this team in the future, and I hope that they just keep giving him the opportunity to prove it. Because as Jim Knowles said on Tuesday, he thought that was Arvell's best game against Northwestern. But I'd also think that coincides directly with being on the field more. And the more he's on the field, the more he learns situationally, the more he gets an opportunity to see things as they play out. Not everyone is a look at the playbook learner. Some guys are I need to be here and then I can do it. And he is definitely that type of guy. So give him the shot.
I think that's a good one. I have a stock down. Would you guys care to guess what
we're
it
doing
is?
another stock down?
Yeah.
Was it on Press Box Hot Dogs?
Ohio State field
No.
turf?
No. Well, there's nothing I can do about that.
Well, you can't do anything about any of this.
That's true. That's a great point. But I can invest. I don't need to invest in Ohio State's turf. That's their business.
Ohio State should invest in it.
Yeah, they should do that. That's
Penn
on-
State's changing their grass this week.
Are they? I love what Travion Henderson is doing for Ohio State on offense. And I feel,
You're going to special teams. Okay.
I feel the exact opposite about the kickoff return situation. I am utterly
Flabbergasted?
befuddled by what
Perplexed?
is happening with
Boondoggled?
they've put Caleb Downs back on punt return, and you can see flashes of that. It seems like teams are pretty purposefully, whether Brandon Innes are back there or Caleb Downs, it's not, teams are trying to take that away. That's not happening on kickoffs. And I just do not understand. Ohio State is now actively harming itself on kickoff return. And this is not, I'm not saying it's because Travion is incapable of it. I think it is something that the coaching staff and the adjustments that Ryan Day made has still not resonated and connected at all on kickoff return. And if that's the case, then they'll let you do this. And then you get at the 25. I understand wanting to make a play, but Ohio State can't keep starting on the 10 or the 15 for no reason whatsoever.
He's being put out there to make a play, and it hasn't worked thus far.
Overthinking it, I think. Yeah.
So I don't know. The return game, I already thought that the stock was low and sinking, but whatever I have in it, and this belief, because there are being some plays being made on special teams. They've blocked a punt 2 weeks in a row. Now, one was a little bit of a gift, but one they schemed up and got. Like, they are putting the investment in on special teams. And why a team with this much skill position talent cannot return a kick to the 25-yard line is crazy town banana pants.
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's an overemphasis maybe at this point to try to make something happen there. You can't
Just
force,
don't.
You can't
You
force
start
that,
on the 25?
And the rules have now allowed you to just start at the 25, which for Ohio State is plenty good field position. They are like falling down the field position metrics a litwill bit nationally, I think, because of some of this stuff. So
It's
it's a good call out.
it's nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts. I got to pick one more.
Burm will do it.
Jalen McClain.
Go ahead. You haven't been on a while.
Jalen
You
McClain.
can take one. Go ahead.
Take more Jalen McClain stock. I'm sure we've bought some, but I'm about to have a coughing fit, so you go.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wow. I thought we were just getting choked up about Jalen McClain. It makes you so excited with the way that he's playing. No, actually, maybe I will. A different secondary player. I feel like is starting to come on a little bit. Jordan Hancock. I guess maybe it's a little odd to buy Jordan Hancock stock a week before the Michigan game, or maybe he won't play a whole lot because Michigan's going to put 14 tight ends on the field. But I think the teams that Ohio State will encounter next week, certainly, or this week, excuse me, Big Ten championship game, potentially playoff scenarios, you're going to need your kind of base secondary out there. And I think there was a time in the middle of the season where I thought maybe Jordan Hancock wasn't playing his best, which kind of fell in line with the rest of the cornerbacks too. But I feel like he has turned it up a little bit. There have been times where I felt like he is the best, most versatile guy on this defense. I think Caleb Downs has clearly picked up that mantle, and that's fine. Doesn't mean Jordan Hancock is bad. It just means Caleb Downs is awesome. But I think between Downs and Lathan Ransom and Jordan Hancock, you have three guys there that can really do a lot for your defense, and you can move them around the board a little bit and get pretty creative with them. And I think Jim Knowles will do that as Ohio State continues to push into the postseason. But maybe in doing so, we'll see Jordan Hancock become, I don't know, just a little bit more of a game-changing player than he has been. There have been times in the past where I think he definitely has been that, and maybe he'll regain that form a little bit. I don't know if I'm explaining it the right way, but I just feel like he is in a much better spot now than he was, I think, in the middle of the season when we were asking a lot about like why he wasn't playing more. And I don't know if that got to his head or he just wasn't getting into a rhythm. He seems like he's more in a rhythm now.
We are gonna we've pushed Burm to his breaking point. See this? This is just walk out of here. We'll close it without you. All right, just
keep coughing into the microphone.
This is why he's had the last couple of weeks off. He doesn't have the stamina for the stonks anymore, and we tried to explain the show to him and the concept. But hey, it was great to see him around here. His health, it's steady, it's cool, it's calm. He's still looking for a better return on that. We're gonna get out of here. All right, everyone took 3 stocks. Burm actually took 4. Maybe that was the problem. It choked him up. It's the Podcast Daily. This has been a Wednesday morning. We'll be back here Wednesday night, a Woody Wednesday. Bill and I will be snappy jaying everything that we learned from the Buckeyes and Ryan Day's lightning round. So stick around for that. We appreciate you watching. That's Bill. He's Berm over here. He's alive. I'm Austin Ward. Have a great day. See ya.